Tonight I got home late from work, only to find my whole street suffering from a blackout. I stumbled around in the darkness and took up my keys from my pocket and put it into the keyhole. I turned the key and the bolt clicked open. I held on to the doorknob and it turned it and pushed it, but the door wouldn't budge open. I was perplexed. I checked whether the key really did open the lock, because I was sure it did. I tried this time more forcefully. I put my shoulder against the door to try to charge it open, but it just wouldn't budge. I took a step back and walked towards the side to look into my window to see if my girlfriend was inside. As I looked into the blacked out house, I saw my girlfriend in the kitchen with her back facing me. It was weird as she was standing in the middle of the kitchen with her long black hair down in the nude, motionless. I said loudly, "Hey hun, open the door." I got no response. I shouted even louder, "Babe, open the door." Still no response. I thought she just couldn't hear me, so I took up my phone and turned on the flashlight to see better inside and hopefully get her attention. I pointed the flash towards my girlfriend, and that's when I saw bloody handprints all over her back. I freaked out and gasped in shock. I quickly went back to the door and kicked it hard, repeatedly. It still wouldn't open. I started to panic intensely. While gasping for air, I wondered what to do. I decided that I'm just gonna break the window, so that's when I took a brick from the garden, and with one throw I smashed the window in. I proceeded to enter through the broken window, and I cut my hand through one of the jaded glass still attached on the window pane. It cut so deep, stung so bad from the pain, and I fell to the ground in my living room, clenching my hand as it was bleeding profusely. I got up and walked over to the kitchen, hitting the furniture in the darkness while I said my girlfriend's name out loud repeatedly. I turned the corner only to see her there, with her bloody back facing me. I stopped in my tracks. I said softly, "Babe, is everything okay?" As I approached her cautiously, at this point I was having severe goosebumps. As I was just an arm's length away from her, I reached out my arms to touch her on her back, and at that moment, I heard a violent shriek that came out of her, and she turned around only to reveal herself with her mouth wide open with blood gushing out, and with just empty pockets for where her eyes would have been. I screamed and fell backwards and hit my head on the table next to the fridge. Next thing I knew, I was awake next to her motionless body, lying in a pool of dark red. Last Friday night, 3 friends and I went to visit a restaurant in town called Dinner in the Dark. The concept of the place is practically in its name. We would be having dinner in complete darkness, only using our other 4 senses to experience dinner. We were so excited. When we reached the entrance, the hostess, dressed in all white from head to toe, told us to hold on to each other's shoulder and led us into the absolutely pitch black dining room. It was so surreal to lose complete sight like that. We were brought to our seats at our table, and I started to feel around the table for everything. I felt an empty shallow plate, a knife, a fork, and a heavy glass filled with what I thought was water. I grabbed onto it and drank it, which I proceeded to instantly spit out all over the table. My friend said loudly, "What's wrong?" I said it tasted like rotten egg and milk combined. He brought his hand forward and reached out towards my glass and raised it up towards his nose. He said it smelled like water and took a sip. I said I probably picked up something else that was on the table. It was so weird to have something like that on the table. So I raised my hand up and verbally asked for the waiter. All this was happening in the darkness. The waiter came over and I told him what just happened. And he said there was only water on the table and nothing else. Weird. Was I imagining things? I thought to myself. As I couldn't see anything, I couldn't verify. The waiter then said not to worry and changed my drink and proceeded to tell us that our appetizer would be arriving shortly. I let things pass and we all continued chatting away till the waiter came with our appetizers. As he approached and put the plate in front of me, he also put his hand on my shoulder and said sorry for the experience earlier. I said no worries. I then let out a huge scream as he took his hands off my shoulder. I literally felt my shirt rip apart on my shoulder and some claws dug into my skin underneath and scratched it open. I got up quickly and in a slight rage said, "Hey, what's your problem, man?" There was just silence. I couldn't see anything in this pitch black darkness. My friend started vocalizing, asking what was wrong with me, what just happened. I explained that the waiter literally just scratched my shoulder open. I proceeded to feel my shoulder, and my shirt wasn't ripped. I just became silent. I said I was sorry, I must be imagining things, and sat back down. At that point, my friend asked me, "Are you good?" I said, "Yeah, I promise you. I hadn't had a drink or smoke all day." This was all so perplexing. I started eating the appetizer and nothing was amiss. It actually tasted good. The rest of the night, there were no more weird things that happened. We laughed and chatted away. We had a really good time. And dinner passed by so quickly, and it came to an end. We got up and proceeded to be guided in the darkness out of the restaurant. The waiter who had held on to me all throughout the journey outside told me to come back again and sorry for any bad experience I had inside. I said no worries, it was probably all in my head. As we reached outside the restaurant, all three of my friends had a shocked face as they looked at me. I said, "What?" I didn't realize, but there were 3 long torn marks all across the right side of my jacket, with something red staining all the threads. I was sure these restaurant workers were playing pranks on me. So we wanted to go back in to complain, but just as we were walking back towards the door, we all heard a loud wailing banshee-like scream telling us to go away or die. For a split second we looked at each other and then took off running down the street. It was reported on the news the very next day that the dining in the dark restaurant shut down due to rodent infestation, but we think it was because of otherworldly reasons.